Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all safe and well this morning. Welcome to Year 4 Maths for today. We're going to start this morning with our usual warm-up. We've got the triangles and the squares back in today, but a little bit different from usual. We've got 3 triangle questions this morning and 1 square. So the triangles we want you to try and have a go at doing in your head. The square you might want to use a pencil and paper. Try and answer the questions in 5 minutes. If you get them answered, maybe you could look back at different methods you could use to fill up your time. Okay, press pause while you're working out your answers and press play when you're ready to hear me talk about them. Okay, the first question, 80 times 50. Well, it's about using known facts, known multiplication facts to help you find your answer. Now, most of us will be able to cope with the known fact in this question. What I'm going to ask you to do, if it was me, I'd be thinking about magic zeros. Okay, I've always taught about magic zeros over the years. And what I would want you to do with your fingers, I would want you to put your fingers over the zeros. Okay, imagine that those zeros are now being held prisoner by your fingers. Okay, they're desperate to get out. If you have covered your zeros up, then you're left with 2 digits. Okay, I've shown you here, I've covered up my zeros and I've turned them red just because it's easier to show you on the screen. And I'm left then in black with 8 times 5. Well, I know that 8 times 5 is 40. Okay, now we've got those magic zeros, those numbers in, those digits in red that we've got up here. And what we need you to do now is to let your magic zeros go. Okay, and they will fly back to the number. So they're going to fly back to the 40. And you can see then that we've got 4,000. So 8 fives are 40. We release the zeros back to the number. That number then becomes 4,000. So all this strategy is about is using your known number facts, so 8 times 5, and then using magic zeros. Always works, every time. Okay, second question this morning is the one that I think you probably might have needed to use pencil and paper, and that's 478 plus 345. Best method is abstract as always. That's what we've worked on all year. 8 plus 5 would be 13. 7 plus 4 would be 11, and add the 1 in would be 12, but we still need to carry the 1 across. And then 4 plus 3 is 7, and add that 1 makes 8. So our answer then is 823. Second method, maybe we could have partitioned your numbers. So we could have had 470 and 8 and 340 and 5. Add your hundreds together. 400 plus 300 is 700. 70 plus 40 would be 110. And 8 plus 5 would be 13. If you recombine the numbers, you get 823, which agrees with the abstract answer. Okay, third question, 23 plus what equals 56? It's one of those tricky questions where they've messed around with the order of the sentence. So you can do 2 things here. First thing we could do is we could count on from 23 to make 56. So we could start with 23 and add 10, which would be 33, and add 10, which would be 43, and add 10, which would be 53, and then add 3, which would be 56. And we know then that it would be 10, 20, 30, 3. Could be the question mark, 33. Or we could invert the question. We could turn it into a subtraction. So we could put, it could be 56 take away 23. And if I wanted to recombine this, wanted to do it in my partition this, sorry, and then do it in my head, then I'd say 50 take away 20 would be 30, and 6 take away 3 would be 3. Recombine and you get 33. Now this is the most efficient method to be doing it in your head probably, but either way it works. And the last question this morning is 543 times 100. Now we've done multiplying and dividing by 10 and 100 this year. We've looked at it with decimal numbers in the last couple of weeks. Now you are, to answer this question, you're making the number 100 times bigger. You're timesing it by 100. So let's think back to our learning. And if we do think back, we could have had a grid, could have quickly scribbled a grid down if we wanted to. I mean, I want you to try and do it in your head, but if you needed to, you could have quickly scribbled a grid out. And we've got 543. And what we need to do to times it by 100, we're moving it 2 places to the left. How do we know we're moving it 2 places? Because if you look at the number, there are 2 zeros. That tells you you need to move it 2 places. So we're left with 54,300. Please remember, put it in red here just to remind you that if you do move a number to the right, you must fill up the empty spaces with a placeholding 0, the empty columns. So 54,300. Okay, our learning intention this morning is being able to estimate amounts of money. Okay, now you can see we've got our star words for this morning. They are very similar again. I've taken out bar model today and put estimate in. Okay, apart from that, we've got round as well, rounding, because that's really important today. So we're going to be estimating and rounding the rest of the words even, all look the same because they're all linked to this topic of money. Okay, our InFocus task this morning is that we have to estimate the total amount paid for dinner at a restaurant. And the little chap here is thinking, I must round each item to the nearest pound. The most important thing is that word estimate. Now, we are not looking for exact amounts here. Okay, if you're asked to estimate something, you're trying to make a best guess, an educated guess, a guess where you've used some mathematical knowledge, but you're not looking for the exact amount. Okay, it's being able to do things in your head. So the question there is, does hit the little chap's method there give an answer that is more or less than the actual total? Okay, what I want you to do is to just press pause and just have a little think. What is this question asking you to do? How do you think you're going to do it? And then press play when you're ready for us to go into our learning. Okay, let's learn. Now, it says in the graphic here, which of the amounts is rounded down? Now, there's a highlighted amount there, which is £5.40 for the meat toasties. Now, the young lady is saying there, an example of rounding down is £1.05 to £1. And an example of rounding up would be £1.95, would be £2. So that's an important thing just to keep in the back of your head. Now, the question there, the highlighted question, it says £5.40. Now, my question to you is, how do we know it's rounded down? And I want you to think back to our work on decimals. How do you know that is rounded down? Press pause while you think about that for a couple of minutes, and then press play when you're ready. Okay, so how do we know that £5.40 is rounded down? Well, if we look at putting it onto a number line, we know that the number £5.40 is somewhere in between £5 and £6. And we know that if we were to put it onto a number line, that 5.4 or £5.40 would come before the halfway point, £5.50. We can see that if we plot it on this number line, that it is closer to £5 than it is to £6. Therefore, we need to round it down. And if we wanted to, we could think back to our rule, okay, that if we're looking at the 4 there, 4 or below, we round it down. 5 or above, we round it up, if you remember. How do we know that these here are rounded up? These prices here are rounded up. How do we know? I want you to press pause while you think about it and press play when you're ready to hear me talk about it. Press pause now. Okay, now I'm not going to go through each and every one of these, but I just wanted to know how we knew they were rounded up. So if I took the first price up here, we've got fish cakes, which are £6.90. How do we know that these are rounded up? Well, if I quickly drew a number line, and there's not particularly a lot of detail on this number line, but it's something you could do if you're not 100% sure, just scribble out a quick number line. We know that £6.90 is somewhere between £6 and £7, and I know that it's going to be somewhere up here on my number line. Now I can see quite clearly that £6.90 is going to be closer to £7 than it is to £6. I also can look at the digit 9 and I'm going to think to myself, 5 or more, I have to round it up. Okay, so £6.90 would be rounded up to £7. Looking at this one, why is this trickier? Okay, so we've got there, chicken salad is £7.50. Why is it trickier? And I've put up here, why is the answer £7? Actually, Mr. Nugent has made a mistake. That should be £8. Okay, why do I round it up? Why don't I round it down to £7? Okay, I've edited the answer now so that we're all correct. Sorry, I see so many of these prices and numbers in my head. I do apologise. So yeah, £7.50. Why is it trickier and why is the answer £8? Well, think about it. Remember what we said? Okay, £7.50. Now that's halfway between £7 and £8. So do we round it down or do we round it up to £8? Well, the 5 in £7.50, that's the important digit. And do you remember I said that if it's 4 or lower, then we would round it down. If it's 5 or higher, we would round it up. So we round it up to £8. Now the young lady here is saying, she's pointing at £6. She's pointing at 6.00. And she's saying, there's no need to estimate this. Press pause now and just have a little think. Why is there no need to estimate it? Press pause. Okay, well, there's no need to estimate it because it's already rounded. It's already a whole number. £6 is £6. You do not round it up. You do not round it down. It is already done for you. Okay, next question here. It says, estimate the price of one smoothie. Estimate the price of one smoothie. Now, the chap there is saying that the price of one smoothie is £16. Is he right? Okay, discuss this with your adult. Okay, discuss this with your adult and just think about it. Okay, what do you need to do to make your estimate for one smoothie? Okay, well, the chap here is partly right. What he's saying here, okay, 4 of them, he's saying, well, £18.50, sorry, £15.80 even, we need to round it up to £16. Okay, for 4 of them. He's correct with that. Okay, £15.80, we're rounding it to the nearest pound, that would be £16. And if £16 is what 4 of them would be as an estimate, one of them then, 16 divided by 4, okay, one of them would be worth £4. So you round the first digit, or the first number, up to £16, and then you divide it by 4 to find 1. Okay, so 16 divided by 4 is £4. The last question in our guided practice session this morning, I just want us to have a little look at, is estimate the total cost of these items by rounding the prices to the nearest pound. Okay, so I want you to press pause while you're thinking about this, and then press play when you're ready for us to go through the answer. So press pause now. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here is, if I'm making an estimate, is I need to round each item to the nearest pound. So £45.80, okay, will be rounded up to £46. £32.10 would be rounded down to £32. And £12.80 would be rounded up to £13. Now, when I've got my rounded answers, I then need to add them all together. So 46 plus 32 plus 13, okay, will give us £91. So an estimated figure for the total cost would be £91. Now the second part of the question is asking, what would your answer be if you rounded to the nearest £10? To the nearest £10. Now hopefully you've been able to do this. Okay, so let's have a little look at it. Rounding to the nearest £10. So the first one, £45.80. If I wanted to round it to the nearest £10, it would be £50. £32.10. If I wanted to round it to the nearest £10, would be £30. And £12.80, if I wanted to round it to the nearest £10, would be £10. Okay, and then again, if I add them all together, I get £90. So you can see that rounding it to the nearest pound will give us £91, which is a good estimate. If I rounded it to the nearest £10, it's quicker, and it's still quite close, £90 to that estimate. So you could make that choice. You don't need to always round it to the nearest pound. You might want to round it up to the nearest 10. Okay, your independent activity this morning. I'd like you to complete worksheet 8, please, on pages 56 to 57 of your workbook. And your extension task, can you ask an adult, can they find a receipt lying around anywhere for some shopping? And can you have a go at rounding items to the nearest pound and estimate the cost of the shopping? You could even think, okay, what's the difference between my estimate and the actual cost of the shopping? Press pause while you're working and press play when you're ready to move on. And finally, let's move into our plenary this morning. Now, we are at the end of our little topic on money. And what I want you to do, a bit like the end of the last unit, I've put a self-check box onto the screen here. And you can have a look at this inside your textbook as well. It's inside the textbook. And what I want you to do is to think to yourself, right, let's just go back through my workbook. Can I count on an amount of money and write it in decimals? Can I compare different amounts of money? Can I round money to the nearest pound and maybe to the nearest £10? Can I estimate totals of money? And can I solve problems involving money? Now you should, if you've been able to work through the textbook, you should be able to see that you can do most of those things. If you can't, if you're still struggling with some of them, then they are things that perhaps you can be going back and looking at. You can play the videos again, you can look at the answers, you can look at the questions, you can talk with an adult just to consolidate that learning. Okay, so have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow when we'll be starting a new topic. Bye-bye.